Hi guys, welcome to the class. In this lecture, we are going to discuss about the types of signalings. Previously, we have discussed the hand signals, detonating signals, special character signals, and location based on signals. And in this lecture, we are continue the topic and also uh, learning about how interlocking can be seen in the railways. So, the signaling. Absolute block system. The following train systems we have for the control of movement of those trains, the absolute block system or space interval system, lock and block system, automatic signaling, pilot guard system, centralized traffic control system. Here, one of the basic objects of signaling is to control the movements of trains with a view to ensure safety by preventing accidents. To achieve this goal, a particular system of working should be adopted, keeping in view uh, safety, speed, and also the traffic density. So, to ensure the safety by preventing accidents and control the movement of trains with a view to make the ensure of a safety, and also a particular system of working is adopted to maintain the safety, speed, and the traffic density. The absolute block system is extensively used in the Indian railways. In this type of block system, the railway track is generally divided into two block sections. A block system, which is nothing but distance between the last stop signal of one block and the first stop signal of the block next in advance. So here a block system is nothing but a distance between the last stop signal of one block and for the first stop signal of the block next in advance. So the automatic block system is nothing but a distance between the consecutive stop signals. So various systems that work on one or the other railway for the control of movements of trains, one engine only system. Initially, only one engine available. The collision did not arise one engine on the line at a time. So initially in the Indian Railways, there is only one engine policy system, which involves, which is useful to eradicate the collision between two engines. So if one engine is used on one track, uh, on the line, one engine on the line at a time to eradicate these collisions which will happen with the two engine systems. So is suitable for small sections. These one engine systems are suitable for small sections where shuttle runs, where the shuttle trains work with one engine and one rake. Here, train interval system. So in this system, trains are worked between two stations by dispatching them one after the other, all in the same directions. So here we have, we may consider 2 points, the starting of the train to the ending of the one station to the another station. These in the train interval system we may see number of trains which are worked between these two stations, dispatching them one after the other, which are in the same direction at specific intervals between the trains. One train to another train, there is a specific interval about 15 minutes. The trains are run at specific speed of 25 kilometer per hour, less than 25 kilometer per hour. This ensures that there should only be one train in every 5 kilometer stretch in the section between the stations. So in the train interval system, there is only one train available within this 5 kilometer stretch distance between the stations. So the maximum number of trains simultaneously present in the section is restricted to 4. The trains are dispatched only after the station masters of both stations have been in communication and have agreed upon the number and timing of those trains which are traveling on the same line. The driver of a train being dispatched in this system must carry written authorization authority to proceed these following train systems: destination, speed, and details of proceeding, and also trains, number of trains on this particular section. So this train interval system was introduced in many areas as an emergency measure in 1941 in order to cater to the urgent wartime needs of the railways in India. It is still used in some areas where there is requirement for large and unidirectional movements of many freight trains. These unidirection movements of these corridor systems, also known as these corridor systems. So in previous old days, this system was most implemented in the period of 1941 to 1947. There is an emergency for war. So these are railways in India. They are in order to cater to the urgent wartime needs. So they have used these train interval systems so that within a duration of 5 kilometers, there should be only one train within this particular station to the particular station of 5 kilometer radius. There is and also time duration between one train to the other train is of 15 minutes. Time dilation can be given from one train to the next train that is proceeding, that is traveling on the same track. So absolute block system or space interval system are also known as lock and block system. In this absolute block, which refers to a system where the track is considered to consist of a series of sections, such that when one train is occupying a section or track, no other train is allowed to enter that section. In addition, no train can enter an empty block section without first securing the permission of the station in advance. This is the most widely used system for ordinary train routes. A station or signal box controls a block section in one direction, and no train may enter that block in that direction without permission from that signal box. So when a train has been accepted, no other trains can be accepted on that block section until it has left that block section. So here in this absolute block systems, which refers to a system where the track is considered to consist of a series of sections. One train is occupying at a station of a track, no other train is used, no other train is allowed to enter that particular station. So if the empty block of the section is in a station, there is an empty block section of empty block section without permission securing, without any permission in advance, these trains cannot be permitted in that empty block sections to travel uh, in the right path. They are traveling in the movement of direction which the train is moving. So we have to take permission before entering into that empty block section. If one train has been permitted to enter into these empty block sections, no other trains are allowed to travel in these empty block sections. So if the train that left the station, so they can allow the permission for the next train to stay in the empty block section. So this is the most advanced, and nowadays we are using these type of block systems, absolute block system in the railways. uh, Here obviously the two signal boxes at either end of the block section have to tightly coordinate their actions, especially in the case of block sections that allow bidirectional movement on a single line. The permission to enter the block may be in the form of a physical token carried by the train crew while the train is in the block, or may be implicit in the aspects of signals governing access to the block. Here, absolute block and eternal like sections ahead. Here we can observe in this image. In this image also you can observe these are the train routes. This is the curved path and automatic signaling or automatic block signals, ABS. The signals are automated and operate in conjunction with the track circulating or other means of detecting the presence of a train in a block section. When a train enters a block section, the stop signal protecting that block changes automatically to on or the stop aspect. As the train moves ahead of that block and into the next block, the signal aspect changes automatically to caution. In multiple aspect signaling, when the train is 2 blocks ahead, the aspect that changes to attention and then to proceed when the train has passed 3 blocks ahead. In 3 aspect signaling, the aspect changes to proceed when the train is 2 blocks section ahead. In automatic block territory, 2 aspect signal is not used. So here in this automatic signaling we have multi-aspect signals where uh, a 3 aspect signal and a 2 aspect signal are used. But in the automatic signaling systems, the automatic block territory, 2 aspect signals are not in use. So 3 aspect signaling, which allows the train on the block section moves 3 blocks ahead, then the automatic signal that reflects to the waiting train to proceed and entered into that block section. Here, if a train moves ahead out of that block and next into the next block, the signal aspect changes automatically to caution and proceed with a caution in that empty block section. So each change of a signal to a less restrictive indication requires the train to have moved an adequate distance in advance of the signal. The gray, white, or silver boxes marked found by the side of the tracks contain the circuitry to accomplish the automatic signal transitions. Any number of automatic block stop signals may be provided in between 2 block stations. Thus, with this system, the 2 stations do not define the ends of a single block section, as is usually the case with manual absolute block working, excepting, of course, the case of intermediate block stations. So, here, minimally one automatic stop signal is provided to the rear of a block station's first stop signal. Pilot guard system. One individual, one pilot guard accompanies the train to the station ahead and returns after adequate time interval 15 minutes to the same station with another train. So the combines the principles of one engine only and following the train, which are used under specific occasions. A failure of block telegraph or telephone system in case of single line. In double line, when one line is out of order and the other line is to be used for up and down trains. Centralized traffic control systems. Centralized traffic control is a form of railway signaling that is originated in North America and centralizes train routing decisions that were previously carried out by local signal operators or the train crews themselves. The system consists of a centralized train dispatcher's office that controls railroad interlockings and traffic flows, centralized traffic control territory. One hallmark of CTC is a graphical depiction of the railroad on which the dispatcher can keep track of trains locations across the territory that the dispatcher controls are used. The larger railroads may have multiple dispatchers officers, and even multiple dispatchers for each operating division. These are usually located near the busiest yards or stations, and their operational qualities can be compared to air traffic towers. So, in these centralized traffic control systems, centralized traffic control systems, one hallmark of CTC is a graphical depiction of the railroad on which the dispatcher can keep track of trains, where the trains are located, and in which across the territory that the dispatcher controls the location of the trains across that territory where the centralized traffic control systems has been arranged. So, and also these CTCs that controls railroad interlockings and traffic flows. These are usually located nearest near the busiest ads or stations, and their operational qualities can be compared to air traffic towers. Here you can observe these are the uh, control traffic systems, centralized traffic control systems. You can observe these are the train routes from that station to the next station, and the train routes has been seen here. The dispatcher control the location here. You can observe in these lines where the train has been located, so the dispatcher control systems can show the location of that train moving towards the station. And here controlled turnouts and signals utilizing computerized and centralized traffic control. Here this is the computerized board, and here the train number, and here you can observe where the train located and which speed that is passing through the stations. And distant signals, a signal that provides advance warning of a stop signal ahead, is referred to as distinct signal. The term originated in the UK and is used throughout the English speaking world. In some regions, notably North America, the terms distant signal and approach signal are both in common use. Because of the long distance required to bring a moving train to a stand, distant signals must be located on the approach to the corresponding stop signal by at least the braking distance of the worst braked train to use the route. This is particularly important on high speed routes. These distance signals are used in high-speed routes. At one time, it was practiced to take sighting distance into account when positioning distant signals. The distant signal could therefore be positioned at less than braking distance to the corresponding stop signal. Here, the driver of a train encountering a distant signal at caution must expect the stop signal to be a danger and must adjust the train's speed so as to bring the train to a stand before reaching it. The driver of a train encountering a distant signal in the clear position knows that all applicable stop signals controlled by the same signal box are in the clear position. This is enforced by interlocking. The distant signal is prevented from assuming the clear position unless all relevant stop signals controlled by the signal box display, which is a clear signal. Here, a finished distant signal at the western approach to the train to the station is displaying expect stop. In the background, the train is pulling away from the station. Signaling here, decentralized point controllers and end position detector are arranged. In this image, you can observe these are the position of that detectors, and these are the centralized point controllers for train to be checked whether the location of the train in that particular territory of these centralized point controllers. Signaling systems, absolute block systems, space interval systems, time interval system, and pilot guard systems. So in this previously we have discussed absolute block system and time interval method. The space interval method we have to discuss. In this method of control or movement, the length of the track is divided into two sections called blocks. The entry of train into the block is controlled in such a way that only when it is a train can be allowed to enter it. This means that between two consecutive trains, there is a definite space interval. Interlocking. The arrangement of signals, points, and other appliances, so interconnected by mechanical or electrical locking, that their operation takes place in a predetermined sequence to ensure that conflicting movement of signals and points do not take place and a train runs safely. The necessity, it is the increase in the number of points and signals, increase in speeds, points and signals arranged in full proof manner, conflicting movements are avoided, and to help in proper and safe working of the system. It should not be possible to turn any two signals off at the same time, as this can lead to conflicting movements of the trains. Wherever feasible, the points should be so interlocked as to avoid any conflicting movement. Standards. First standard, these makes use of key interlocking. Running speed for trains restricted to 50 km/h. And for the second standard, these are used on non-trunk main routes operated mechanically or electrically, where the speed of is less than 75 km/h. And for the third standard, it makes use of mechanically or electrically interconnected, which uses latest interlocking techniques. Also, the key interlocking, simplest method of interlocking, which involves the manipulation of keys in one form or other. This type of interlocking is normally provided with the standard one interlocking. So the speed limit for the standard one interlocking is of less than 50 km/h. The arrangement of key interlocking is done as below. When a main line and a branch line exist on a single track. For key interlocking, the points can be set either for main line or branch line. For A and B are the keys for main and branch lines. At any point, only one of these keys can be taken out. The lever frame operating the signals is provided with two signals. If the train is to be received on main line, the key is locked for point on main line, and A is taken out and inserted in the lever for signaling, thus lowering the signaling of main line, and this type of signal is called indirect locking. So in the mechanical interlocking, which are improved form of interlocking compared to key interlocking, greater safety and less manpower is required for these type of mechanical interlockings. So the which are done using plungers and tie bars. The plungers are all of size 30 centimeters into 1.6 centimeters and have notches in them. So these tie bars are placed at right angles to plungers and are provided with suitable shaped riveted cast iron pieces that exactly fit in notches. So this entire arrangement is provided in a locking throw where tappets are provided which move at right angles to the plungers. When lever is pulled, it causes the plunger which it is connected to move due to wedge action, which are that are accommodated in the notch of the plunger is pushed out at right angles to the movement of plunger. Here, in the mechanical interlocking, the motion gets transferred to the other tappets which are connected to the one another by means of a tie rod. So some tappets gets pushed in, some pushed out. As a result, in case of a tappet is free and pushed into the notch, it locks the lever connected to that plunger. Else, if it is already locked, it will come out of notch and the lever becomes free to be operated. Different cases of mechanical interlocking we have is the normal interlocking and conditional locking and both wall locking. Both locking or release locking can be seen in the mechanical interlockings. Here, in the normal interlocking, pulling one lever locks other lever in normal position. If we have pulled this lever, the pulling can show an immediate action on the other lever locks to be so other levers to be locked in the normal positions. So back locking or release locking. In lever in normal position locks the other lever in normal position. When pulled, other lever released and is free to operate. When other pulled, first one gets locked in pulled position. So these back locking or release lockings are much useful. When we pull one lever arm, it may locks up the other lever arms to be pulled out from the position. So if you pulled the next lever arm, so the first one and the remaining lever arms can be can be locked and cannot be pulled out position. So in the both wall locking, once the lever is locked, the other lever locked in current position. So if you lock one lever, the remaining levers which are in their current position can be locked like that. So in the conditional locking, pulling one lever locks other lever only when certain. If you pull one lever, the it doesn't have any impact on the other lever arms. So based on the condition, based on the certain conditions, if you you are mechanically pulling that lever which we have pulled only pulled out from the original position, so that there is no impact on the other lever arms. These are the mechanical arrangements for interlocking of points and signals of a two-lane railway station. Here, these are the tappets. These are the plungers with a notch shaped. So these plungers, these notches, these plungers having notch like dimensions, these levers can be held within these plunger shaped. So here, these are the tie bars. The bar which connected all the tappets is known as the tie bar. If the loop line, this is the main line, this is the loop line lever, and this is the main line signal lever, and this is the front lever and facing point lock lever. If you pulled one of the locks in normal locking, the other gets the others in the normal position. Only which we have pulled can have significant resilience, so that it only be moved from the positions. The electrical interlocking. These electrical interlockings achieved through electrical switches known as relays. The manipulation of the relays achieves interlocking. In the place of plungers or in addition to plungers, lever locks are attached with levers. These works by making use of the principle of electromagnetism. The soft iron core wrapped inside a iron core turns into magnet when current passes through it. An arrangement named is attached to this magnet. Depending on whether the armature is attached or not, these interlockings are worked here. This entire system is housed in a glass or metal box. And next one is the panel interlocking. All points and signals are operated electrically from a central location. The switches for operating these points and signals are mounted on a panel, which also bears the diagram of diode layout. So the electrical interlocking is achieved by means of relays. The centralized controlling of greater area is the great advantage. With elimination of inter-cabin controlling, greater number of trains can be run with less amount of route relay interlocking. In the improvement of panel interlocking, in panel interlocking, each point in the line has to be individually set up with a switch, and clearance of signal is obtained by operating the switch. The RRI, which is nothing but route relay interlocking, only a pair of switches are used for doing all these operations automatically. The signal is also cleared in the similar automated manner. The main requirement for this type of interlocking is entire track needs to be track circulated. So in this route relay interlockings, the conditions of track circuit and various indications of all signals are mirrored on the panel that carries the diagram of the ad. By looking at these indications, a panel operator can easily know whether a track is free or not. Once the route is set to yellow, the portion gets illuminated with white light. If the route is occupied, it will show in red color. If the train has cleared the track, the lights will go off. Here, in this route relay interlocking, once the route is set to yellow, the portion gets illuminated with white light. If the route is occupied, it will show a red color. And if the train has cleared the track, the lights will off and it shows again a white light. So the automatic warning system. It is a device that triggers the automatic application of brakes if the signal is indicating danger and the driver has not taken any action. The system consists of a track device located at a desirable braking distance at the rear end of the first stop signal. The track device is activated when the signal indicates danger and is ineffective when the signal is clear. Alarm will sound if driver don't take action during a stop signal, then emergency brakes are applied automatically. The different components in the points are set mechanically and are kept in locks and stretcher bars. The mechanical arrangement for operating them includes a solid rod and cranks. These point locks, detectors, and lock bars used for controlling and directing the points. This point lock is provided to ensure that each point is set correctly. It is provided between two tongue rails and near the toe of switch assembly. So the point lock consists of a plunger which moves in a casing. Plunger casing. The plunger is worked by means of a plunger rod which is connected to the signal cabin through a lock bar. So detectors. These are provided at all points to detect any defect or failure in the connection between points and levers. To ensure the correct signal is lower, it can be mechanical or electrical. A lock bar is provided to make it impossible to change the point when a train is passing over it. Thank you and meet you in the next. class. In this lecture, we have discussed types of different interlockings and also the types of signalings which we have continued from the previous class.